Hello, everybody. Welcome to TB3 episode 66. We're so happy to be back. Took a little bit of a hiatus, Gets busy around this time of year. Christmas shopping, Thanksgiving was, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
So we've been a little busy, but we want to take the time off to regroup, regather, and have a great episode because, this one, all we get to do is talk about wins. And I
Yeah.
think that's a really good thing. The Bucs are winning, 3-game win streak. The Bolts have been winning, and they've been looking red hot. So let's get right into it, man.
Yeah. Like Will mentioned, Thanksgiving's late this year. Not that much time between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's hectic. And before we get into this Bucs game, I do just want to go back to the Bucs game we missed. An overtime win by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Carolina against a Carolina Panthers team that's playing really good football right now. And I just got 2 words for you. Anthony Nelson. Who would have thought way back in, July or way back in September when the season started or when the schedule dropped that we would be talking about Anthony Nelson as the man who saved the Bucs season. And that's just what I wanted to get off my chest before we got into this week's game.
Yeah, he certainly did. I'd say you got to shout out the defense, and you got to shout out Levante David winning that coin toss. That was pretty huge. They switched it up. It's usually been Baker Mayfield in the last 2 overtime games, but Levante did it. I think he called tails?
I think he did.
Tails never fails, right? Unless Baker does it.
When Baker called tails, it did not work. So Levante David had a better touch. That's crazy.
And, we even got 2 chances.
We finally got to stop in overtime because of Anthony Nelson.
Yes, that was huge. But, I think, a lot of people, going back to that game, a lot of people were unhappy, struggling with the Panthers, this and that. But, I got to say, at the end of the day, a win's a win in the NFL. It doesn't matter how you do it. There's no eye test. There's no committee voting you into the playoffs. All you got to do is win the games. And sometimes it's ugly, but it's better when a team can still look bad, struggle, miss field goals, this and that, and still come away with the win. You look at the Chiefs right now.
Mm-hmm.
They have looked terrible at times. They've struggled with bad teams, but they got the best record in the NFL. And why is that? They find ways to win. Might be some voodoo magic, though.
It might be a little bit voodoo. And another good example, Will, is last year, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The final game of the season, got to have it, and you win a game where you don't score a touchdown at Carolina, and we're kind of like, this is not how we want to go in the playoffs. But, a win's a win, and then you look back, you look forward, next week you flash forward, and the Bucs blow the brakes off the Eagles and look the best they had all season and even almost beat the Lions on the road in Detroit for the loudest NFL game ever. So sometimes, this is the NFL. During this, I think it's an important thing to note during the stretch run is this is the NFL. This isn't like, the USF Bulls playing Bethune-Cookman. This isn't, playing a lower level division team. This is NFL teams. These are still the best of the best. These guys have competed at the highest level and won at pretty much every level that they've, played at. They're not going to be too keen in on losing. So as we go down the stretch run, as we talk about another team that's been struggling, the Raiders, it's important to know this is the NFL. Anything can happen, and that does not mean that the Bucs, are necessarily not playing good football because they have a close win against the Carolina and a little bit of a sketchy one against Las Vegas.
Yeah, I completely agree. I guess, I don't really have the box score in front of me. If you wanna break down the game, you can go ahead.
All right. So, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers headed home to beautiful Raymond James Stadium on Dale Mabry Street in Tampa Bay, Florida. And these Bucs started off hot. As they would get the ball, they would win the toss, and they would decide to receive the football. And your Tampa Bay Buccaneers would go all the way down the field, and a name we have not heard in a long time. First and 10 at Las Vegas is 15. Baker Mayfield would throw into the back corner of the end zone, and it would be caught by Jalen McMillan for a touchdown. His first since, I think, week 1 against Washington. Good to hear that name. the Bucs would go up 7-0. And then the ensuing drive, the Las Vegas Raiders would go 3 and out, have to punt the ball back to this red-hot Buccaneers offense. And this time it would be Rachaad White receiving a touchdown. He had a big day. We'll get into that. Receiving a touchdown for Baker Mayfield, and just like that, the Buccaneers are up 14-0. After forcing another punt, the Bucs would start their next drive. But a fantastic play by where is it? Where does it say it? Oh, see it. Oh, a fantastic play by Jansen would result in an interception. He would drop back, tip the ball up to himself on a screen pass. Just a heck of a play by the defensive lineman from the Raiders, LSU legend.
Sometimes you just get lucky too.
You get lucky, and you got to tip your hat, man. That was a fantastic play, and it kind of shifted the momentum, but not immediately, because right after that, Aiden O'Connell would fumble the snap exchange, and the Buccaneers would get the ball right back. But it was a turnover fest, as the next drive, Baker Mayfield would be sacked, and he would fumble. And the Raiders would get it, and this time the Raiders would not give it right back. They would go down the field and score a touchdown. This one would be scored by Munford. No, sorry. Aiden McCollum would sneak it in. My bad. Can't read. But then the Bucs had started to kind of lose their momentum. They would punt the ball back, and then Las Vegas would go down the field and kick a field goal. It's 14-10, but then the Bucs would get a drive together. They would go 7 plays, 49 yards, get into the red area for the Raiders, but Baker Mayfield would overshoot his receiver, and it would be intercepted. Going into halftime, the Bucs would lead 14-10, with the Raiders getting the ball to start the second half. And this is where it did not look good, as the Raiders would come out of halftime with a 16-play, 61-yard drive that would take 10 minutes and 20 seconds. The Bucs did not get the ball until there was 5 minutes left in the third quarter. However, they got it back after a Tyke Smith interception, huge one, guarding, the rookie phenom Brock Bowers, getting an interception. Beautiful coverage, beautiful pick, huge play, probably the biggest play of the game. The Bucs would have to punt it, but after that, the defense had locked in. A slew of punts would lead into the fourth quarter, where the Bucs would finally get a drive together, going 6 plays, 77 yards, and this time it would be Rachaad White finishing the drive, a 3-yard touchdown, huge run by Sean Tucker on that drive to really put the Bucs on the doorstep. And then Las Vegas was not done. They would go down and kick a field goal to make it 21-13. However, Jalen McMillan once again would seal the game for the Bucs with a touchdown reception on a screen. Beautiful call by Liam Cohen. And the Bucs would win this one 28-13 to go back above 500 at 7-6 and extend their win streak to 3.
Yeah, I just think it reminded me a lot of the Panthers game last week, but I think it was a little cleaner. Struggling. I think the second quarter might have been the worst team effort. I mean, there's a lot of guys who made a lot of mistakes, but as a whole, second quarter might have been the worst quarter all season.
I look at second quarter against New Orleans as a little bit worse.
That one,
a little bit worse. But it was bad. You're right.
I just think at the time New Orleans was kind of decent. They had backup, what's his name in? I just
Spencer
think
Rattler.
Rattler, yeah. I just still think the Raiders, as bad as they are, it looked even worse in my opinion. But you still found a way to win. I think a lot of guys stepped up. And I think probably the hero of the game was Tyke Smith, getting that interception, and the defense as a whole. A lot of times, I think the biggest question I had going into this game was, could the Bucs shut down a good tight end? Because we've seen Kelsey, we've seen Pitts, who's seemingly done nothing in any other game except for us, torch us, get big catches, score touchdowns on us. And now we see Brock Bowers, who I don't think he's going to win Rookie of the Year. I think that's probably a two-man race between Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels, but he's certainly up there. Bucky Irving, man, I wish. He deserves it for sure. But yeah, he's coming in hot. He's on the verge of, I want to say he's pretty close to breaking a single season receptions record for a rookie, which is held by Puka Nacua, who set that last year? Is it really his second year in the league? Wow, what a dog! Let's trade for him. But no. I want to see, could they shut down Brock Bowers? Could they do it? And I think they did it exceptionally well. I want to say off the top of my head, 3 receptions, 5 yards.
49 yards.
49 yards?
Yes.
A lot less.
Yeah.
Or a lot more. A lot more.
Still only 3 receptions on 5 targets.
5 targets.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where I saw 5.
That's shutting him down.
Shutting him down big time. And I think, you give a lot of credit to Levante David, too. He was out there in coverage a lot on him, shutting him down, and then Tyke Smith getting the interception, which really changed the outcome of the game for sure. So I liked how Todd Bowles approached it. I think they mixed up coverages a little bit, making the schemes look a little bit different and confusing. Not so great quarterback at Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, Tyke Smith was fantastic. I'm right there with you. I think he was the hero of the game. Again, biggest play of the game was that interception, a 90.9 PFF grade, the second highest amongst all rookies this last week. He's been a steal, man. He really has been a steal. Every week he's been healthy. He's made an impact, causing turnovers, sure-handed tackles, and now we've really seen the gift of his coverage because, when we drafted the nickel, we kind of questioned it just a little bit, like, hey, we got Christian Eisen, why do we want Tyke Smith in that nickel spot? But I think now we see the benefit of having the size of Tyke Smith where he can guard the tight ends, and I think as we get on later in the season, I think this is the blueprint for how we need to stop tight ends because we're going to have to do it, hopefully, down the stretch especially, and then hopefully in the playoffs when we play some of these teams with the good tight ends. Now that we know that Tyke Smith can kind of, take the load off and cover these tight ends a little bit better than maybe Levante David or KJ Britt did, or even a guy like Christian Eisen did earlier in the season, I think that's a very, very huge added bonus. I think we should just stick with the defense because I'm right there with you, Will. I think it was a really, really good game plan. And I think what stood out to me was I think we really saw the fruits and the benefits of having both your starting corners in the lineup. I think Jamel Dean and Zion McCollum were both fantastic. Not much action because there was not receivers that are open. And I understand that Las Vegas doesn't have that number one receiver now, that they don't have Devontae Adams. But Jacoby Myers is a solid receiver. These are still NFL guys, and they were shut down by Zion McCollum, Jamel Dean. And I think that was why, the Bucs were able to kind of mix up coverage, send the blitz, not have to sit back in soft zone because you believed in your guys on the outside to win man-on-man coverage.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's some things that fans haven't quite seen a whole lot is a healthy defense under Todd Bowles. Because I just think, we want to blame him for a lot of stuff, and we want to say, maybe his defense is too soft. But I just think, we've had too many injuries, and we've seen. I thought we were getting back to being healthy, but now the couple more injuries doesn't look like it. But you have Jamel Dean in there, McCollum. You can be more physical. You don't have to sit back in zone, like you said. It makes that defense a whole lot more nastier and more effective. I think the secondary as a whole, outside of them, was phenomenal. You look at, I guess, we'll address elephant in the room, take away Tweez, Antoine Winfield, or Win, as Todd Bowles calls him, goes down with a knee injury. I don't really know too much about it yet.
A couple games is what the quote was. So hopefully we'll get him back later on in the season, but you don't know what health. We've already kind of seen the saga of Antoine Winfield coming back because he's a dog, he's tough, but not playing at full strength. Just unfortunate. Hoping that the Bucs will have the luxury to maybe sit him an extra game. Maybe the division's already wrapped up by that point. A couple Falcons losses and the Bucs keep on winning. And yeah, I do think his presence will be missed. I think just in general that safety position is lacking depth heavily. You got Christian Eisen over there, he's solid, but then after that, you have guys that have kind of stepped in. Tavierre Thomas, he's been a special teams guy all year, and he's stepping in and playing some secondary snaps. Kayvon Merriweather, you guys probably recognize the name because he's been with the Bucs, but the last couple weeks he was actually on the Lions practice squad. He was not with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He signed this week back with the Buccaneers, and he was out there making plays. He was actually tied for the team lead in tackles with 7. He had a sack, he had a quarterback hit, and he also had an interception that he dropped, but it was a huge, huge game-changing play that, kind of changed the whole drive for the Raiders. It was a really commendable performance by Kayvon Merriweather. Really just coming back from Detroit to Tampa this week. You know the system, but still you're coming back. You haven't played in a game in a while. It was a very commendable effort by Kayvon Merriweather.
Yeah, just going back, it kind of felt like we had the gang back together. We had Whitehead, Edwards, and Winfield all back in the same room, and now all of a sudden they're all hurt again, which really stinks. But yeah, Kayvon Merriweather, way to come in and be an impact. And I think you look at the sacks and the tackles. I mean, that's stuff we've seen Winfield do. And if Mayweather can come in and bring the same kind of production that we've seen Winfield do, is phenomenal. I think Tavier Thomas really stepped up too. Christian Izzy, of course. I mean.
Yeah.
What can you not like about him? Give me 11 of them on the defense. But, I think one thing I liked a lot better, too, from all three of those guys is open field tackling. I thought they did a phenomenal job of that this game. I think there's been some issues with tackling every once in a while, but they really stepped it up and made a lot of plays. So,
yeah, I think the secondary was very positive. Levante David, again, very positive. 7 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. But I will say on the negative side of the defense is I think the line of scrimmage was not really dominated like I think I was hoping this game to be dominated by the line of scrimmage. I look at Sincere McCormick, fresh on the scene, but he had 15 carries for 78 yards, averaging 5.2 yards per carry. I thought the Bucs defense, rushing wise, was a little bit lackluster, and I think the people on the defensive line were kind of going non-existent. And I'm kind of talking about Vita Vea and Kalijah Cansey right here.
Yeah, you just can't have that. And I've said this 100 times on the show. It's just, Vita Vea, the ceiling, is the moon. Ceiling is as high as he wants it to be. But, you just get to games like this where he doesn't show up on the stat sheet. You don't see him at all. And you see other games where he's getting in the backfield. He's up there with sacks on the team right now. He still might lead it. I don't got the stats in front of me. But, you just can't have games like this. And especially – we'll get to it in a little bit, but this is something that, we're really going to need this part of the defense to step up in the upcoming game. So, it's one thing playing against – I know you're playing against the Raiders. They're not that good. Maybe just, he got knocked – he got a dirty hit by Ben Powers-Johnson in the first half there. Like, I think on the first drive, that crackback block. Maybe he just got his bell rung a little bit.
Yeah, and I do think Vita Vea, he definitely causes a lot of attention, and it does go on the other guys on the defensive line. I'm talking Logan Hall, Kalijah Cansey, Greg Gaines. Usually Vita Vea is got 1 or 2 blockers on him at all times. The offensive line is focused on him, and that kind of opens up these guys to make plays, and they just were not making the plays. I mean, missed tackles, not getting penetration. I mean, Yaya Diaby, Chris Braswell had a high PFF grade, but I didn't really see his presence in the pass rush. Only 2 sacks on the day, and 1 was by Kayvon Merriweather and 1 was by Levante David. So we're still looking for that edge presence, that ability to rush. I think we kind of saw that a little bit more in the Carolina game. I think there was some good defensive line pressure on Bryce Young, and that didn't really translate over to this game. So it was a little bit frustrating, but at the end of the day, you still held the Raiders to under 100 yards rushing. You still held them to under 300 yards total. This isn't a great Raiders offense, but the week before they did move the ball up and down the field against the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean,
should have won that game.
Should have. Aiden O'Connell had over 300 yards passing against the Chiefs. So this is not the worst offense we've ever seen. I think that was New York Giants a couple weeks ago, and we saw how the Bucs defense feasted on them. So I think overall the Bucs defense did their job, especially when the Bucs offense was non-existent for 2 quarters of this game. So I mean, do you have anything else on this Bucs defense?
Yeah, no. I mean, I think there'll be more when we get to keys to next week's victory.
For sure. And I think, Bucs offense, man, this was a tale of a sandwich. The meat of the sandwich was not good, but the bread was really good. What am I talking about? I'm talking about 14 points in the first quarter, 14 points in the fourth quarter, 0 points in the second and the third quarter, and not much ball movement in the second and third quarter. So, Will, I'll ask you this question. What was different in the first quarter as opposed to the second quarter, or the third quarter as opposed to the fourth quarter?
Before I get to that, what would you call that sandwich? Good bread, not good in the middle. What would that sandwich be? Arby's?
Ooh.
Do people? I mean, some people like Arby's.
No, I would say something like bologna or like bologna sandwich. I'd call it a bologna sandwich.
Bologna sandwich.
I like pretty much all bread, so any bread's good bread to me, man. I'm fat.
Yeah, dude, there's nothing like a good slice of bread.
Yeah, it's so good.
A little toasted. But no, I mean, I just think, it starts with the quarterback. It starts with Baker Mayfield. And, you've been so high on him all throughout the season. He's he definitely is deserving of at least a look for MVP. The way he's balled out, but there's just times where the Bucs struggle, and it starts with him. He gets a little sporadic with his throws. I think when he has too much time in the pocket, it is not a good thing. You were saying that earlier before we got on. I just think he just gets too. He's like a loose cannon, man. And he's got to reel that in and just make the plays when it comes to him. I think he does good under pressure. You looked at, I think we made Max Crosby pretty non-existent, but when he got to Baker, I think in the first half, he has pressure, he's getting chased down, he throws an absolute seed to Sterling Shepard and stuff like that. But, it's like he makes good plays under pressure, but when he's not, he starts to make mistakes. So I just think, he's got to relax a little bit. When he has too much time, make the right play, throw it away, scramble for it. That's what I think.
Yeah, I do think we've kind of seen that in opposing teams' game plans against the Bucs. Bucs offense is keep Baker in the pocket. They're almost treating him like a Lamar Jackson, like a Jalen Hurts type. Because even last week against Carolina, I saw a quarterback spy out there. I think the game plan increasingly has been keep Baker in the pocket. His legs have been good this year. His throws on the run, there we go, have been good this year. But Baker has to do a better job of progressing through his reads. I think a big thing that I saw that stuck out in this game against Las Vegas was his unwillingness to throw the ball to the sideline. You look at the majority of his completions, and they're in the middle of the field. Big completions too. To Cade Otton, to Mike Evans. Like the plays were there in the middle, but he didn't really throw the ball to the sidelines to outside the numbers very often to get the ball to McMillan. Trey Palmer, I don't think had a catch this game. So, I do think that Baker Mayfield has to do a better job of, working the outside of the field. I think when you look at kind of the way the Bucs had to play, without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, they had to, focus on the middle of the field, throw it to the running backs, throw it to Cade Otton. But now you're seeing kind of the emergence of Jalen McMillan. Hopefully you still have Trey Palmer. Now you have Mike Evans. You got to find a way to get the ball to the outside of the field, and that's kind of what my biggest thing and biggest problem with the passing attack was. And I also do think Baker Mayfield was holding on to the football a little bit too long. I think that, 4 sacks, 27 yards, and I could really look at all of them and not really put much blame on the offensive line. I really think that Baker had time to at least throw the ball away or get outside the pocket or throw it in the dirt or something to get the ball off. I think there was even a couple of times where he had open receivers and he just was unwilling to pull the trigger. I think that Baker Mayfield, sometimes when he throws an interception, he gets in this weird hesitant, and then he'll try to throw one last minute. It's a weird balance for him, but I think that that was evident in this game, and I think Baker Mayfield has to go back to the calm, making the first read, hitting receivers on time and on target, because we saw that in the fourth quarter late, we saw it in the first quarter, but the second and third he definitely was hesitant to throw the ball, and he's holding on to it way too long.
Yeah, and I think in his head, his mental state, he's gotta start thinking we're down all the time. We have nobody. Everybody's hurt. It's just him out there. Because I think he just plays way better under pressure. It's like when the game's kind of too easy for him, then he starts to make mistakes. And you look at the Raiders, they weren't a good team, let's be honest. But you still can't make mistakes like that, even against teams like that. No. You could have lost this game very easily. And how silly would you have felt if you ended up dropping this game because of mistakes and turnovers, not being able to move the ball from the second to the third quarter? And, again, you play good teams, and that's going to hurt you. And we've seen that plenty of times this year. This isn't the first time the Bucs have played bad in a quarter or a half. We've seen this a lot, and we've got to lock in and get it better.
Yeah, I think you're thinking that you're down or no one believes in you can apply to Baker Mayfield, but it can also apply to Liam Cohen. I think that Liam Cohen, something I've noticed is he calls better games when the game's tied or when the game is, when you're down one score. When he gets the lead, this guy, I don't know, there's been some questionable play calls. I think that, quite frankly, we were throwing on first down too much in this game. The rushing attack was fantastic.
It was working a lot, and they just refused to do it.
Yeah, and you look at the rushing attack. Rashad White, 17 carries, 90 yards. Sean Tucker, 3 carries, 47 yards. So only get 3 carries for Sean Tucker with no Bucky Irving. pretty ridiculous. Bucky Irving will only have 4 carries. He re-injured, or they were just trying not to re-aggravate his lower back injury.
Cost me in fantasy, man.
Yeah, that does stink. You know who cost me in fantasy? Jamar Chase. I was up 40 points and he got 45. Ridiculous. But in all seriousness, the Bucs ran for 26 carries, 152 yards, 5.8 yards per carry. And I think the Bucs should have ran the ball more than 26 times. The rushing attack was working. Rachaad White was having a fantastic game. And, I think especially in the second and third quarter, the Bucs threw the ball too much on first down, especially when Baker was not making good decisions.
Yeah, and I think, something that's been so effective so many times is those bubble screens and the tunnel screens and stuff like that, especially to, getting Bucky in space, getting Rashad in space. We want to see more of that.
Palmer needs to touch the ball at least once 100%. Or twice the game.
100%. I'd say, you got to feed Cade Otton more too.
Yeah.
I know he had the longest play of the day.
4 targets.
But yeah, 4 targets, and that's it. You gotta get him the ball more and get him more involved, because I think he's definitely gotten better as a tight end. He's getting open. He's got great hands. So yeah, you got to mix it up a little bit, and you got to go with what works. I think that's one of his things too. Like, he doesn't ever stick. And this is guy. This is really his first season in the NFL calling plays. I mean, we look back when he was offensive coordinator with the Los Angeles Rams. Sean McVay was calling the plays there. I know he called it with Kentucky last season, but that's college. NFL is a whole different thing. And I think that's one thing. You got to go with what works. If you're killing them in the run game, keep doing it. Do it till they prove they can stop it, because they clearly couldn't. Mm-hmm. They clearly couldn't stop it. So, yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I would have liked to see a little bit more of the screen game, especially the running backs. I love when Sean Tucker gets the ball in the air. I love when Rachaad White gets the ball in the air. And, I mean, I'm looking. Rachaad White, I think I just saw it. He only had 3 targets. Sean Tucker had 2 targets. Sean Tucker didn't even have a catch on 2 targets. But in all seriousness, it's got to be better. You got to get the ball in your playmakers. I thought Liam Cohen has done a really good job of that, but I don't think that this was his best game called. But it didn't bite you in the butt, because your defense played well. And, you call good plays, and you converted in the red zone when it mattered. The Bucs right now, red zone conversion has been a huge part of their games. They are 4th in the NFL in converting, red zone touches into touchdowns, and they are 10th in the NFL in preventing red zone touches to becoming touchdowns. Top 10 offensively and defensively in the red zone. Very, very good stuff. Very, very impressive. It's been a huge part of why the Bucs have been able to win games. And I think that was really the key difference in this game, where execution, that's what differs from a good team in the Bucs to a bad team in the Raiders.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Before are we still on the offense?
Yeah,
I want to
sure.
keep going. I mean, shout out Rachaad White, man. Shout out Rachaad White. I mean, I love Bucky Irving as much as the next guy. I do. But I think, as a fan base, rooting for the team, there's a lot more than just who's getting the rock. It depends on the blockers. It depends on that play. If a defensive guy makes a play on one thing, and the Raiders aren't the specialist of teams, but you can still see what Rachaad White can do. I think people have wrote him off a little too much because of how good Bucky is and how explosive he is. But Rachaad White's right there. Look what happens when he gets some space. Look what happens when the offensive line holds up for him. He can still make plays. So don't write him off, fan base, please. I beg of you.
Yeah, that's back-to-back games where Rachaad White has gotten his season high in rushing yards. He got 76 against Carolina and 90 against the Raiders. So he's starting to warm up. Obviously, Rachaad White is much more than just his yards put on the ground. He's a fantastic receiving back. I think he got into the top 5 of receiving touchdowns for running backs in Bucs history. And it's his 3rd year. We have not seen a back this talented in the pass game in Tampa Bay, maybe ever. I mean, he's one of the best for sure. He does so much in the passing game, and he's a fantastic blocker. You can tell when he's in the game, that blitz is getting picked up. He is a fantastic blocker. I'm right there with you, Will. I think it's kind of nonsense for players or for fans to kind of bash these players if one's doing good and one is doing the little things. I mean, if Bucky Irving's doing good, give Bucky Irving his flowers, but don't bash Rachaad White. Mm-hmm. It is a luxury to have 3 running backs that could be starters on some NFL teams. It is a great luxury. It is a great way to keep people fresh. It is a great way to, use different formations, different sets. Different people are hot in different games. It gives you so many different options. Don't ruin that by just saying, we want to give the ball to Bucky Irving more. That's uneducated. And Liam Cohen is doing a great job managing, the touches. I'm glad to see Sean Tucker get some more run. I feel bad that he's not able to get more touches. He's been so good this year. But to have 3 running backs is such a great luxury. Mm-hmm. And Bucs fans, you just can't take that for granted because you enjoy watching Bucky Irving run. I love watching Bucky Irving run.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? But you got to don't take credit away from one player when what is needed is to just give flowers to the other player. I think it's pretty stupid.
And, I think you bring up a great point. Like, we look at the game last week, and it's not even, fans I'm seeing. It's like guys in the Bucs media, complaining that, we didn't give Bucky even more carries in that overtime period. And look, we ran him into the dirt, and now he's injured. And we ran him into the dirt, and he's hurt now.
And who put us on the doorstep, Will?
Rashad White did, yeah. Rashad White.
Yeah, 40-yard run. The fact that we have a fresh running back that late in the game, the fact that we have a starting caliber running back when our other running back's banged up and, has a hip or a back injury is a luxury. Enjoy it, Bucs fans. Just don't bash Rashad White or don't whine that Sean Tucker's getting more because Rashad White has been the scapegoat. People love to hate Rashad White, and it does frustrate me.
Well, dude, it's like a trend. It's a trend.
Yeah.
I look back all the way to like 2020, and it was like Ronald Jones stinks. We need to give Leonard Fournette the ball more. We need playoff Lenny. Give playoff Lenny the ball. Then 2022, playoff Lenny is no more. He's old. He's fat. He's bald. Get him out of there. Get him out. We want Rashad White. We want Rashad. We need more Rashad White. That's the problem. And then now this year, it's the same thing. It's like Rashad White stinks. We need to give Bucky 100 carries a game. We got to cut Rashad White. He's useless. And it's like I'm seeing a trend.
Yeah.
And it's not even the fans. It's like the media too. And that's what bothers me the most.
Well, they're the ones enabling it. They say it, and the fans think they're geniuses for saying it as well.
Yeah, dude, I've noticed that this is like in the last week, and this will be for later in the show, like, I've just seen so many people just repeat the same talking points. I see it for the Bucs a lot, but is the world getting stupider?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because does anybody have an original take anymore outside of TB3? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Yeah, we go against the trends. Just to wrap up, offensively, I think Cade Otton, huge play at the end of the game, 44-yard catch. He was the leading receiver, 3 catches, 70 yards. Get that boy the ball more often. Mike Evans, 4 catches, 69 yards. He now has to average about 100 yards per game to keep his 1,000-yard streak alive. Oof. Feed this man the ball, bro. Get him the ball. We need a 150-yard Mike Evans game. We need it so bad.
Yeah, maybe
this week.
Maybe this week we could see it.
Sterling Shepard.
Cowboys is what I'm looking for. Mike to turn up.
That's,
Jamar Chase type thing.
Yeah,
hopefully
200 yards for Mike this time. Mm-hmm. Sterling Shepard, what a great pickup, man. What a great pickup for the Bucs. He's been so solid for the Bucs. Huge catches on third down on multiple occasions. Some great catches. Has great chemistry with Baker Mayfield going back to their college days. 4 catches, 63 yards. Really, really good stuff. Jalen McMillan, 2 touchdowns. Was just love to hear his name. Want to see him get more involved. It just felt like, with how good this draft class has been, he's kind of just been, put to the wayside. And even some people, frustrated with him, but he's still a rookie. And he just had a really good game, and I hope he can build off of it.
Oh, I completely agree. I'm not ready to give up on him yet. There's another McMillan I want. We'll see.
We'll see.
But something interesting.
Yes.
Little trivia time for you.
Ooh, I like it.
McMillan was he was the first Bucs rookie to have 2 receiving touchdowns since who? In what year? You know what? It's super hard. Not like it's like a no-name person, but you're going to be like, I can't believe that's the last rookie to do that in a game for the Bucs.
I don't know. Is it Mike Evans, 2013?
No. Well, Mike Evans was the one before that to do it, but he did it 3 times in a season, his rookie year. But in 2017 against the Buffalo Bills, O.J. Howard is the
Oh,
last rookie.
oh no, dude! I should have known that, dude. I forgot about OJ Howard, man.
I was like, I was kind of shocked when I saw it. I was like, really? It's the last rookie receiver to have 2 touchdowns.
Dude,
But,
OJ Howard. What happened to OJ Howard, man?
yeah.
The one that got away, kind of.
Huge bust. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, so disappointed with how that went down. I was like, man, we got an Alabama guy. We got an Alabama guy now. Like, we're back. And then he was terrible.
He was kind of nasty his rookie year, too.
Yeah.
And then it just fell off.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
We're good?
I had to throw a trivia in there.
Oh, I like it. So, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, face their last opponent with a winning record coming up this Sunday. They play the Los Angeles Chargers. They play them at 4:25 on Fox in LA on the West Coast. The Bucs will be taking a flight all the way across the country to play on the road, and this is going to be an interesting game. I think that the Los Angeles Chargers are 8-5. They're Jim Harbaugh, first-year coach, and he loves to muck up the game. He's all about the offensive line, the run game, the stingy defense. But they do have that big-time quarterback, and they got a lot of talent. But they do. I don't know. What do you think about the Los Angeles Chargers?
Yeah, call me crazy. I'm not a huge Jim Harbaugh guy. I'm not, okay? I don't like I think like the rah-rah attitude, the throwing on the gloves and playing backyards football with the fellas before the game. That stuff works when you're winning. And it's good right now, but I've seen what happens when this team is losing and they fall apart and he leaves and goes somewhere else or goes back to Michigan. Look up the 49ers if you're young on this show. I think there's a lot of hype. He can turn around programs quick. The first couple seasons everywhere he's gone has been very good. It's been very good. They get off to a hot start, but I'm not a huge believer in him. But what you did say is they do muck up the game. Defensively, they allow the least amount of points a game at 15.9. So that's going to be something. Can the Bucs, the high-powered 27 points a game offense, can they overcome that? Can they beat this defense? And then defensively, I mentioned earlier, we talked about the defensive line not being so well for the Bucs this week against the Raiders. They're really going to have to step it up against this Chargers team. The good news for the Bucs is that J.K. Dobbins is out. He's been, a workhorse for the Chargers all year, but looks like he's placed on the IR. We won't see him. I don't know if we'll see him the rest of the year.
That sucks.
The
man.
Chargers will. Yeah, he had a great season, so
yeah.
that's a blow to the Chargers, which should help the Bucs out. But yeah, emphasis: you have to shut down the run game. You have to shut down the run game, and here's why. Mr. Hypothetical, Justin Herbert, the biggest what if in the NFL. What if he had this? What if he had that? I actually kind of like him.
I'm a big Justin Herbert fan.
I do think it's
Justin
funny on Twitter. Like, he has the aura of Tom Brady, but just in hypothetical what ifs. Like, and here's what. But like the real reason why you need to shut down the run game is there's really no proven receiver for the Chargers. They just got they in the draft they got little lad McConkey. Mr. Gritty, Mr. Gym Rat.
He'll rat you up, man.
You're
He'll
the
rat
song.
you up, man.
I'm just a little laddie, McConkey.
That's good, bro. That's good.
Scoring touchdowns, please give him the money. He's banged up.
Yeah.
So even if he does play,
he didn't play last week.
Yeah,
the Chiefs. So
yeah, he did. And even if he does play this week, you don't know what kind of role he has. There's Quentin Johnston, Mr. Butterfingers himself. He can take the top off the defense. He's an explosive player. We've seen it in small instances throughout his career in the NFL. He's still young, but he's inconsistent, very inconsistent. And so I think as a Bucs secondary, you're banged up a lot. If you can force them to pass the ball. As decimated as the Bucs are too, I think they still match up pretty well if they can force the Chargers to pass the ball a lot more. Because I think if you're able to shut down, if Jamel Dean or Zion McCollum, whoever it is, if you can probably shut down Joshua Palmer, who probably will get the most targets out of this game. I think Will Dissly, too, he's even banged up the tight end.
He is.
I would look at Josh Palmer, shut him down. I think you have a very good chance of winning this game.
Yeah, and I feel like, as for Johnston taking the top off the defense, I'll take Zion McCollum covering anyone, deep, short, whatever. I'm not really worried about that.
Do you believe you're saying that in 2024?
Dude, that dude is legit. I can't believe what a job by this Bucs coaching staff and by Zion McCollum to improve. And Jamel Dean, I think he's been playing really, really good since he came back. Another guy that the Bucs fan base was coming after for some reason, against Atlanta, when this guy was just, left on an island and he just got beat a few times. And, it is what it is. And I think we've seen Jamel Dean, when the season gets late and the games get big, Jamel Dean rises to the occasion. Mm-hmm. I'm not worried about the receivers. I'm not at all. I am, like you said, the running game, whether it's Gus Edwards. I don't know who the third-string running back is. Even Justin Herbert, that has been a focus as he's been running the ball a little bit more this season.
But he's banged up.
Up as well, so you don't know if that's going to be part of their game. But, they drafted, Big Joe Wall on the offensive line. That's where they want to build, in the trenches. And here's the deal. The Chargers have won games that have been close this year. This has been, the opposite of what the Chargers normally do. I look at, a couple weeks ago, they beat Kirk O'Chains in Atlanta. A pick six on the worst throw I've ever seen in my life against,
through a paper airplane,
yeah, seriously. And then, at home, you almost do the most Chargers thing ever, blow a huge lead to the Bengals, then you go back and take the lead, take the win. You lose a couple close ones to the Chiefs. You beat the Broncos close. This team can win the big games, especially at home. Their fan base has been a little bit revitalized. Usually it's like either all opposing fans or empty stadium, but it seems like they're doing a little bit better under Harbaugh. Good for them, man. I got a lot of love for the Chargers. I love their jerseys. I think they're sick.
I do like their jerseys
a lot. Their jerseys
are
sick. I like Justin Herbert. I don't got any problems with the Chargers, but I do think that the Bucs have more talent, even banged up. I think they do. I think the Chargers' record is better than their actual football team. I think an interesting key. I already mentioned it for the last game, but the Bucs right now, they are fourth in the NFL in red zone scoring percentage in the end zone, 68.63%, fourth in the NFL. And you look at the Chargers' defense; they are number one in the NFL. They are only allowing opponents to score touchdowns 41.94% of the time in the red zone. That is a stark difference. The execution in the red zone will be a huge key. I'm looking for Liam Cohen to dial up some huge plays because this is a very good defense. You got Derwin James, you got Joey Bosa, you got some playmakers on this team, and you got some scrappy players in the middle. This defense, they're opportunistic. They're going to try to they might bend, but they're not going to break. You see it, best red zone team in the league. It's just scoring defense, yards. This is a perfect example. They're 11th in yards allowed, number one in scoring defense. They're going to bend, but they don't want to break. If the Bucs can capitalize with touchdowns, they will win this game handily. Quite frankly, they will. I think offensively, I think a key is hopefully everyone is healthy. A key is to not abandon the run game. I think there might be some plays made by these this Chargers defensive line in the backfield. Don't abandon the run game. Get Rashad, get Bucky, get those guys in space, get those guys rolling. Another key, get the ball to Mike Evans. Let's just make it happen. Get the ball to Mike Evans, get him involved early. When we get Mike Evans involved early in the game, that's the best games that we have. Defensively, I think, run game. We've went through it. I think to get any type of pressure and get hits on Herbert to make that banged up even more is huge. So defensive line has to step up.
Looking at you.
Oh, man.
Get him.
Get him, Kalijah. Anthony Nelson, get him. But, I think red zone, finishing with touchdowns is the biggest key for this Buccaneers team to go on the road and get a win.
Mm-hmm. Are you ready to predict?
Let's do it. Yeah, I'll go first. I think the Bucs are gonna win. I really do think the Bucs have gone through the fire. I think if the Bucs season was gonna unravel, they were gonna lose in Carolina. But they got that win. They figured out how to get that huge overtime win. They figured out how to win close games. They were on like a 4-game losing streak, maybe even more in one-score games. I think it's going to be close for the majority of this game. Going to be tight, but I do think Baker Mayfield's going to have a better game. I think the Bucs have the weapons. They have the talent. I think the corners will shut down, the banged-up Chargers receiving core. And I think the Bucs will win. And I think the Bucs are going to win this game 24-17. 24-17, the Bucs win.
I like it a lot. Yeah, I just think there's been some consistencies all year for this Bucs team, and they've been road warriors. Doesn't matter who's banged up. Doesn't matter who they roll out there. They've come on the road and they've come to play. They give it their all. That's just their mentality. Next man up. Who's going to step up? Who's going to make plays? Baker's going to be a warrior. He's going to do his best. And I just think I don't want to face the Bucs on the road or at home. I don't want to. I really don't. I think they're a scarier team, and I think they're going to come into L.A. Chargers are favored right now, and I simply don't. I simply would fear that if I was the Chargers. I think they're going to take care of business. I think the Bucs win this game. It's going to be close, like you said. It's definitely going to be close. I think maybe a late field goal type action for Money McLaughlin. Give me 26-23 Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
We're both going Bucs. So, yeah, Sunday, 4:25 on the road. Big game, probably the biggest game left on the Buccaneers schedule. As it sits right now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are first place in the NFC South. They are 7-6. The Atlanta Falcons are 6-7. The Saints are 5-8, but who cares? If the Bucs and the Falcons had the same record to finish off the season, the Bucs will go in the playoffs. So the Bucs just have to take care of their own business. They control their own destiny, and the Falcons. Yeah, the Falcons still have to play the Commanders. They have to play the Raiders this week. Desmond Ridder revenge game, as I like to call it. Might put the division out of reach just this week. But, yeah, just if you want to keep scoreboard watching, the Falcons are 1 game behind, and the Bucs control their own destiny. But if they do slip up, you're going to still need one Falcons loss to remain the season. So, yeah, I think before we get into the Lightning real quick, we should just discuss a quick Rays move because the Rays, the stove is hot. The Rays signed catcher, former Blue Jay, former Red Sox, Danny Jansen, respect the specs, to a 1-year, $8.5 million contract to be one of the Rays' main catchers for this 2025 season. As we look at Danny Jansen, this past season was a down one for him. I should have had it pulled up. This past season was a down year for him. He had a 658 OPS, a 205 batting average, and a 309 on base. He did have 9 home runs, 24 RBIs. Yep. Nothing crazy, nothing to sneeze at. But when you look at, you look up at 2023, 2022, and 2021 with the Toronto Blue Jays, he had a 786, a 855, and a 772 OPS. Where are my home runs at? He would have 17, 15, and 11 home runs. So at this guy's best, he can provide power threat. He can drive in base runners. I saw some Blue Jays fans in the comments saying that it felt like every hit this guy got was a double down the line to drive in two. That's what the Rays needed, the hitting with runners in scoring position. Also, defensively wise, he is statistically the best catcher at blocking wild pitches. He is the best blocking catcher in the league. His other statistics are pretty meh, but Taj Bradley can throw that splitter. Shane McClanahan can throw that changeup and not have to worry about it getting by the catcher because this guy is phenomenal at blocking pitches. So, Will, what are your thoughts initially on this move?
I mean, it's kind of deep. Look, I appreciate the Rays going out and getting a catcher. We definitely needed one. We needed somebody who's a little more consistent, especially considering we had probably the worst catcher of all time in Alex Jackson. They DFA him. They go and get a need. But, the problems I have with it is, one, I feel like it's a little bit of an overpay. You look at it's 8.5 mil. We're paying Ben Rortvedt $1 million. He comes off the streets, And he's neck and neck with Jansen in stats last year. I know Jansen has more of a pass. He's had better seasons before, but Rortvet, that was really his first season last year, first full season with the Rays, and he's a lot younger. And you're hoping he can improve. But I just think what really bugs me the most is it's not so much like stats are one thing. I get they made a move, but it just bothers me because knowing the Rays, knowing how they operate, it's like this can't be the only move. We need some more hitters. I'd love maybe a bullpen arm, something like that. We need to make more moves. This can't be it, because I don't want the excuse of he can stop ground ball or he can stop wild pitches, and he's good defensively. I mean, that's why we have guys like Taylor Walls on the team. He's good defensively, which I don't even know anymore. I mean, there's that one. It was 2023 or 2022. He
hasn't been good defensively since he had her baby.
Yeah, focus on what's important in life. And you keep guys around like that because hey, they're good defensively. I think that's you can attack me, Rays Nation. Why people love Kevin Kiermaier so much. Couldn't hit a beach ball, but he's so good in the outfield. So there's stuff like that. I want hitters. I want guys who can hit for power, hit for contact, drive in these runs, get on base, and have somebody else bring them in. And I think there's a potential Jansen can do that, but is this move alone going to make the Rays any better than last year? Maybe a little bit, but not to where this team should be. We want to be in the playoffs. We want to win playoff games. So if they make a bunch of moves and surprise me, I'll call it A+. Right now, it's like, what can you really say? Solid, but I'm not going to, give them too much praise for it.
Yeah, and I see where you're coming from. I'm pretty high on this move. I think this was a low buy move. Obviously, $8.5 million if you are just a baseball fan and you saw Juan Soto get paid $700 million and you're like us calling $8 million an overpay and you're like, what are you guys talking about? It's the Rays.
Because we're cheapskates.
We're cheapskates. That $8.5 million is a pretty big contract, but it is a one-year deal, so it's not that big of a deal. If it doesn't work out, you just move on from next offseason or you trade him at the deadline. But I'm pretty high on this move. I think to have the power threat at the catch position is something we haven't had since Mike Zunino in the 2020, 2021, and that was the best situation for the Rays. I mean, in 2021, Mike Zunino was an all-star. And I see a lot of Mike Zunino in Danny Jansen. I mean, to put up 3 seasons in a row with an OPS over 770 is very impressive. That is, above league average hitting. That is very, very good, especially from the catcher position. So if this guy can get back to that form, after a down season, I look at, the Blue Jays, about every single player on their team had a down season. And then you get traded to the Red Sox. You go there mid-season. The Red Sox didn't have a great year either. Not a great environment, either one of those teams. I look at this as something that he could revert back to that plus 700 OPS, plus 750 OPS self that he was in 2021 through 2023. And if that is the case, this is a slam dunk move for the Rays. You still have Rortvet to be the backup, to be the guy to go against righties, and then you have a lefty masher and a guy who could probably hit against righties and will probably get more time with the Rays than he did with the Blue Jays, because the Blue Jays had a million catchers, and for some reason they're still playing Alejandro Kirk. Beats me for that, but whatever. And even with the Red Sox, they had Reese McGuire, who was their main catcher. So for Jansen to get the contract to be the main catcher,
it's a wild room, man.
Wow. Yes. Oh man, we'll not get into Reese McGuire. But I do think this could be a very, very good move for the Rays. I'm with Will. I would be satisfied with one more legitimate, borderline, all-star, at least everyday starting level bat. If I think we get that, I think you are right back into the 95 win range, in my opinion, with his pitching staff.
Mm-hmm. I could use a reliever too.
A reliever, but you got to think. You got Edwin Uceda, you got Pete, you got Manrod, you got.
But then there's
Kevin
rumors
Kelly.
that they're trading Pete. There's a lot of rumors that that's going to happen, and it's like we really need one, at least a closer.
I'm kind of fine with Manny Rodriguez being the closer.
Yeah, but if Uceda has a good season again.
Yeah, Uceda. Kevin Kelly.
I love Kevin Kelly, man.
Clevenger. Mason Montgomery looked really
Fat
good.
Cleb,
Fat
man.
Cleb. Mason Montgomery looked electric at the end of last season. Throwing 99 from the left-handed side of the batter's box. Lefty 99.
They can bring what's his name back up, who we traded for Isak.
Oh, yes. Hunter Biggie. Yeah, a Biggie. Yeah, so I feel pretty good about the bullpen, especially if you keep Pete. And starting pitching, it's about as good as you're going to get in MLB. Shane McClanahan, they said this week that he will be ready for 2025 to do normal baseball activities. Huge. That is, probably the best left-handed pitcher in baseball, at least top 3. Springs will be coming back. Drew Rasmussen, his last year was was better than I could have even expected for him. Coming off 3 major elbow surgeries.
Yeah. Well, is he gonna stay in the bullpen?
I don't know.
Or
Zach
is he gonna
Littell
be
will
on
be
the
coming
team?
back.
I feel like they're gonna trade one of them.
I do think they will trade one starter, and again, that could be the way you get your
Yeah.
back. That could be the way you get your back. I still would like to see them address the shortstop position a little bit.
Yeah.
Get a little upgrade over Caballero, let him be a utility player, and get rid of Taylor Walls.
I'm praying if we trade a pitcher, please not Jeffrey Springs. He's gonna win the Cy Young. He's going to, and we're gonna let him go.
I want it to be Taj. Trade Taj, man.
Yeah, I'd be so happy with that.
Because I think we could entice a team into giving us a good player for Taj.
Yeah, it's like Chris Archer 2.0.
Yeah.
Dude, we trade him to the Pirates.
Yeah. We'll take Paul Skeens.
Give us Skeens. Or, who do they have?
They don't have
O'Neal
any bats.
Cruz?
Oh, we'll take O'Neal Cruz.
What's the other guy? The third baseman.
Brian Hayes. We got Junior, though. We don't need a third baseman. Can you play shortstop? We need a shortstop. A shortstop.
But we can just come in. We can do something.
Dream scenario, Anthony Santander, man. I mean, that would make my year.
Yeah. That would be very nice.
I have a sneaking suspicion he's going to get a lot of money. Like, probably too much money for what he's going to become.
Probably. I saw, too, like, Conforto went to the Dodgers.
Yeah, Tyler O'Neill went to the Orioles. That was a guy that
That made me sick.
Yeah, I know. That was a guy who I would have loved to see. He's so jacked, man. But I think that pretty much puts the nail in the coffin for Santander going back to the Orioles.
Come show your worth in Tampa, man.
I think if you want me to be honest, I think he's headed to the Bronx.
Well, they got all that money now.
Yeah, they got Juan Soto. They picked up Max Fried today. I'm sure he'll get Tommy John by May.
Yeah, I saw that, and he had such a good year too this year.
Yeah.
They sign him, and just classic Yankees. He'll be terrible.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, it's so Carlos Rodon. But yeah, that's the first Rays move of the offseason, hoping for some more to improve this team to get them back to their playoff standards that we know they can get. And I think we should move on to the third Tampa Bay team, the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, this team looked pretty amazing. Actually, can you check the score real quick?
I'm gonna check it.
Please
it's probably
check.
not over, but so yeah.
Should we turn it on?
If you guys are, it's 2-1 Oilers. If you guys are not new to the show, if you guys are fans that have listened before, there's an ongoing curse where if we record the night the Lightning play, the Lightning lose, and it's looking like that might get upheld. 2-1 Oilers lead. But we're going to talk about the other games that went on this week. Sharks and Canucks. Sharks and Canucks.
Yeah.
Oh, what you got? That was my segue to you.
Oh, I can't load it up on my laptop. You're just gonna have to do it. ESPN doesn't work.
Okay, no big deal.
Shame on you, MacBooks.
Suckers.
I can't turn on ESPN.
Oh yeah,
can't have ESPN.
I mean this home game against the Sharks was a big one. It was 90s night in Amalie Arena, and they put a 90s whooping on the Sharks. 8-1. The Lightning would come out and score 5 goals in the first period. Atkinson, Geeky, Hagel, Gensel. And they would just pour it on. Second period, Sorelli again. Perbix. Ooh, that's not a name we hear a lot. Shout out Nick Perbix. 7-0. The Sharks would get Chris Paul goal, 7-1. And Nick Paul would add on to make it 8-1. And the Lightning would get a huge 8-1 victory. I mean, there's not much to say, man. Belt to butt, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely belt to bottom. I mean, I think the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway I had in this game is once again, those lower level line guys, the moves. I won't say his name. I won't give him credit yet. Shout out to John Cooper for coming up with these lines. But you got these guys like Cam Atkinson and Connor Geeky. Oh my goodness,
Love Connor
making
Geeky.
plays. They are so fun to watch, and it's the Sharks are terrible. The Sharks are terrible, but they're coming in on a bit of a win streak. Macklin Celebrini, Mr. Number 1 overall pick. Is he a plant? His dad's like an exec for the Warriors or something, right?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, so there was a weighted ping pong ball in the lottery. I don't even know if
Exactly.
that's how they do it.
Isn't it kind of funny how he gets on the Sharks? Be close to home.
Isn't it hilarious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a little skeptical on that. Same thing last year with Bedard going to the original 6 franchise.
The team that's won a billion Stanley Cups.
They've won a bunch of cups. Yeah. Good ownership and whatnot.
Honestly, I'd rather him go there than some poverty team though. Like I like when number 1 picks succeed.
But let him go to a poverty. It's not fair to poverty teams.
Yeah, but they do it to themselves, man. They ruin players.
Yeah, that's fair. But what's his name? Macklin Celebrini. He's coming in. He's actually had a decent season, 5-game point streak, and the Lightning shut him down. They shut him down. They do what they're supposed to do. They get a huge win at home. And I love high scoring. This is the second time this season they've scored 5 goals in the first period, and that's the only time in Lightning history they've been able to do such thing.
Really? That
in
is
a season.
impressive.
Multiple times in one season. The only time.
Interesting.
So.
That's impressive. I mean, I'm looking at 8 goals and only 1 comes on the power play. It's pretty impressive. Lightning were 50% on their power play. They got a Jake Gensel power play goal. But, I mean, yeah, everything went right for him. Braden Point, 4 assists. He's been on fire. He was the 2nd star of the week last week in the NHL. Yeah, it was just – there's not much to say, man. It was just a great game. Everyone was on fire. You're going on a Canadian road trip. You want to, leave strong. I think there was their game before the Sharks game was on Saturday, so a little bit of extended rest, which the Lightning seem to be getting a lot. Yeah, that's about all you can ask for. Really, really impressive. Get the stuff from the Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Move on, Canucks.
Yeah, give us the Canucks.
Yeah, so this was a impressive game. Ooh, I forgot the Canucks were wearing their throwbacks. That's sick, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a game against teams that are both very likely going to be in the playoff hunt. 2 playoff teams last year. The Canucks coming in 14-8-3. The Lightning coming in 13-9-2. And the first period, the Canucks would go on top. Quinn Hughes would get a goal, 1-0 Vancouver. But then the second period would be all about the Lightning. Nikita Kucherov in his first game back off his injury would come back and tie it up 1-1. That's another impressive thing about the San Jose game. 8 goals without your best player. That's crazy. Then Braden Point would get a power play goal, and then Sherwood on Vancouver would tie it up in the third period 2-2. But then the Lightning would, put their foot down. Jake Gensel would get another power play goal to make it 3-2, and then Braden Point would get a nice little empty netter. The Lightning would win this one 4-2.
Yeah, I think we got bamboozled a little bit. I thought Kucher was going to be out way longer. He came back. It was kind of surprised to me.
If you guys are at home and you saw the graphic or the tweet or whatever, we saw it too, and we were scared. We didn't put it on the show or post it or anything because we didn't see any official words of it. But yeah, I saw 8 weeks. I thought, and I was
even our
scared.
Lightning insider.
Yeah,
he was bamboozled a little bit too.
That sucks, dude. I was scared. I was like, I don't know if this team can stay above water without Kucherov.
That would be a huge blow.
That would.
But he comes back and absolutely dominates. And I think this is going to get into a broader point because we've seen it now. 6 straight games of scoring on the power play. And, we flash back about a month ago, almost 2 months ago, we're sitting here talking about how the Lightning are struggling on the power play. What can they do to fix it? Obviously, they're going to have to change something without Steven Stamkos. And I just think watching the press conferences and the post-game after this game really kind of did it for me and kind of went back to a point that I said earlier. Is you look at the captain, Quinn Hughes, and Kiefer Sherwood, 2 stars for the Canucks, are talking about how the Lightning make it really difficult on their power play because you don't know who's getting the puck. Braden Point and Kucherov can thread the needle, can make crazy passes. And that's what I said a couple months ago. I said people or teams had it too easy on the Lightning because you kind of knew where the puck was going. It was going to Kucherov. They wanted to set it up to Kucherov. He was going to get the puck. You didn't have to worry about everybody else. But now you do. And teams are starting to notice it and struggle with it. I think Braden Point, big time, stepping up on the power play, looking phenomenal. And Jake Gunsel, man, how can you not love him? I struggled at first. I really wanted to hate him. I really want to say, he wasn't going to be as good as Stamkos. It was a downgrade, this and that. But, this guy's standing in front of the goalie, blocking his vision, making it difficult. And then you look in this game, and he gets a little deflection right in front of the net. That's what you want to see. You want to see guys stepping it up. And now the Lightning have gone from, probably one of the worst power plays to now they're one of the best. And they're red hot. And we saw it in full display in this game.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. I think the versatility is much more in the Lightning power play, which I think early on in the season, when you're versatile, it almost is hard to narrow down, a strategy and what you're trying to do. It was pretty clear, like Will said, last year, you're either trying to get Cooch a shooting lane, or you're trying to get it over to Stammer in his office for a one-timer. That was the tried and true formula, and it worked a lot. The Lightning were a great power play team, but now you flash forward this year. You kind of have Kucherov, where he could do anything. He's handling the puck for you, and then you have Point and Gensel. Those are guys that are pretty flexible. I mean, Braden Point is comfortable in the middle of the ice. So is Gensel, but these guys they're versatile. They're versatile. They can go different places in the ice. They can shoot. They can get in front of the goalie. They can make the play. They can pass. So as you go early on in the season, sometimes it's hard to kind of narrow down what you want to do. And now the Lightning have a better feel for one another, especially on that first line of the power play. And yeah, that's 2 games in a row and on this week where they're 50% on the power play.
And, if you didn't catch this game, I know it's football Sunday. If the Bucs are on, it's sometimes hard to catch a Lightning game. I get it, but go and watch the highlights. I mean, it's like a pinball machine. The passing, bing bong, back and forth. Somebody's open. I mean, it is so hard to defend that. The passes are beautiful, and that's what we love to see. And thanks to Kucherov and Gensel and Point, these guys are stepping up, and now it's becoming dangerous. And I hope we can see it continue the rest of the season.
Yeah. That was a really good game against a good team. We good to look ahead. Yeah. So tonight, obviously, we're not going to preview this Lightning and Oilers game. By tomorrow, you'll know the result. It's still 2-1 Oilers in the third period. Hoping for a late goal for the Lightning. About 8 minutes left. And the Lightning is tonight. Nope, tonight's Tuesday. On Thursday, 12-12, the Lightning will finish up their. No, they won't finish up the road trip. They will continue the road trip in Canada against Calgary Flames, another team that is at a similar. Lightning are at 30 points. The Flames are at 33. A team that has had a pretty good season thus far. And 5 overtime losses for the Flames, man. That sucks. That sucks. But at least you pick up a point. That's why they're at more points than us. Also, they've played way more games than us. Anyways, that will be at 9 p.m. on 12/12. Then on Saturday, the Lightning are still on the West Coast. They're going back into the States, so against the Seattle Kraken at 10 p.m. on Saturday, December 14th. And then they head back home. Blue Jackets Lightning. It's Tuesday. We'll just predict it now because we're probably going to be recording on that night. Head back home. Blue Jackets at Lightning. The last time the Blue Jackets and Lightning played, it was atrocious and horrible.
I'm so sick of him, man.
I'm disgusted.
And I feel bad for him about everything that's happened, but I never want to play him again.
No,
and I quite frankly want to blow him out.
I hope so too.
But yeah, not a terribly tough schedule. These upcoming games. I know you're on the road. A little bit of a West Coast trip, but you should be able to figure it out and get some wins. I'm hoping 3 in a row. So I think I'm going to say that. I think they can go 3-0. If they're going to lose one, maybe the Kraken, they can give you some troubles. But I think the Lightning are playing hot right now. I'd say keep it going. If they drop this one, it's going to fuel the fire even more.
Yeah.
So give me 3-0. Give me who? Give me a Braden Point power play goal.
Nice. I'm going to say 2-1. I think these last 2 games on the road I think they're going to split it. I think they're actually going to lose to Calgary. That's what I'm thinking. I don't think the Lightning have a good history with the Flames, man. So But I think they win against the Kraken, win against the Blue Jackets, and I'll take a. You know what? Nick Perbix is getting another goal. Give me another Nick Perbix goal. Love defenseman
Certainly love
goals.
to see that.
You'll love to see that. But yeah. 3 more Lightning games this week. A couple late night, 9 p.m. and 10 p.m., and then back at home at 7. But if you can stay up, watch your Lightning.
Late night with the Rays.
Late night with
and
the
late
Bolts.
night with the Bolts. They both hit the same.
They do. I love watching late night. But yeah, before we go, I think we should just talk about we will be having a TB3U next week where we talk all about bowl season.
Bulls season. Bulls bowl season.
Bulls, aloha.
Yes.
Going to Hawaii.
You're going to Hawaii, man. That's pretty awesome.
And then Florida, and the Gators are in Tampa.
Gators, yeah. So, the Gators, they get, any Tampa fans, you're listening to TB3 right now and you're Gator fans.
Yeah.
Maybe you haven't heard about TB University. It's our other episodes we have. It's kind of like a special, I guess, because probably there won't be a whole lot to talk about in the spring, but.
Yeah, maybe some March Madness stuff. But
maybe,
that's winter.
That's winter, so.
Unless we got to talk about Omaha. College baseball.
I hope, man. Maybe.
We'll see.
We're cursed. But, so go listen to those if you haven't. So, yeah, that'll be a fun game for any Gator fans in Tampa. Kind of stinks about the Bulls, man. Really for the families of the players, too. Again, it's one thing trying to go to the USF Bowl game as a fan. I was certainly planning on it. I was hoping they'd get something local-ish, like the Cure Bowl in Orlando. That's what I was kind of hoping for. Yeah. Even the Boca Raton Bowl, again, if it was on like a Saturday, I would have tried to swing it. Doesn't look like it. Don't think I'm going to go to Hawaii.
I don't think so either, man.
I'm actually going there next year.
I actually think I'm going there next year, too.
Really?
Yeah, bro, over the summer.
Yeah, dude, same.
Wow, dude, we might see each other in Hawaii. That's awesome. Anyways, yeah, but that does suck.
TV pod on the beach.
that would go crazy. Wearing Hawaiian shirts.
Holy
we need
like Bucs ones or something.
Oh, dude,
that'd be kind of.
We got the Dave Wills one.
I didn't go to that game.
I could get you a Dave Wills shirt we could wear.
That's true.
Anyways, yeah, it does suck. I hope that NIL or just the school in general can fund some trips and some family members over there. That'll be a fun trip. Especially the players will have a lot of fun. That'll be a fun trip for the players. It does suck. USF dropped their last game to Rice, kind of snuck up on them. We didn't get to talk about that, but a frustrating loss to end 6-6 for the second year in a row.
We'll talk about more in the next step. For sure.
Yeah, TB3U next week. We will talk about it. But in general, it just sucks because you had some big time opponents, laid out. I saw some Oklahoma, some Georgia Tech, some West Virginia projections, and then you lose that game, and you're playing San Jose State in Hawaii. So,
but it's not what we wanted. But hey, San Jose State, they were the best record in California, man. Hey. They're a little decent.
For sure. They're not a bad team. I'm just saying.
You did want a P4 though, for sure. But, I think we're going to talk about some college football because we first off, love it.
Yeah.
And second off, we didn't want to make a whole episode about it. But, the playoffs have been selected. They've been set. The seeds are all there. But, it was a pretty crazy weekend. I think, what's been so awesome about the playoffs is, there was a lot of spots on the line in championship weekend. I don't necessarily think we thought that at the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. I expected most of it to kind of be locked. But, this year there were plenty of spots up for grabs. And, some people got left out. Some people bought their way in by winning. But, I'll just go over the scores real quick. Something that didn't really matter too much, but it matters to us as USF Bulls fans because we are in the AAC. Army, their first year in the American, wins the AAC championship over Tulane, 35-14. That was a little bit of a stunner, man. I don't know about you. I thought that'd be close, and I feel like
Tulane
Army
kind of imploded last.
They
couple
really
weeks.
did.
Lost to Memphis, lost to Army, big. Yeah, unfortunate for them.
So yeah, I was shocked about that. Now that everybody's hitting the portal for them.
Yeah.
Next one we had Boise State, Ashton Genty, maybe the Heisman winner. I don't know. They beat UNLV. Second time they faced them. First game was kind of close. Boise State kind of had it all the way, but UNLV stayed in it. Boise State goes up to 21 points in the first half. That's all she wrote wrote for them. I mean, they wouldn't score in the second half. They win 21-7, but Boise State punches their ticket to the CFP. Any thoughts about that game?
Ashton Jeanty for Heisman. I'm saying it. He's a dog, man. He's impressive. And Boise State, I think, they get the Ashton Jeanty story. They got the blue field. They got the nostalgia from the Fiesta Bowl. That's a darn good football team. I would not be shocked to see that team, win a playoff game, quite frankly. I think, a couple kickoffs don't go their way. They could be the number one seed in the CFP. They'd be undefeated. Which is crazy, but it's true. So, yeah. I mean, this is a darn good football team. I think there's been a lot of disrespect going their way. They deserve to be there. I'm glad they get the opportunity to be there. Mm-hmm. That is pure electricity that they're there in the playoff, and I hope they at least play a good game in their first round game.
Yeah, I hope they get a win for sure. I mean, I certainly don't think they have what it takes to win it all. As much as I love them, as much as I'll be rooting for them, but I'd love to see them go far.
Hey, the best team in the country, they should have beat on the road.
That's fair.
So I truly think this is another thing. I was going to say it, but I'll just say it now. This, college football every year is enjoyable. It's fun. This has probably been one of the most fun years of college football in my lifetime. It really has been. So much parity, somewhat because of the 12-team playoff, somewhat because of the transfer portal, NIL, and stuff like that. Talent being more widespread. But yeah, this has been electric football. It's been so fun to watch these teams. Upsets. Teams still being alive because of the expanded playoff. And I think there's some favorites and some teams that you can look at and say, hey, I think this could be how this playoff goes. But I really do think the parity is not done. And a lot of times at this point of the year in college football, it's done. But I don't think it is this year. And I'm really excited to see how this 12-team playoff goes down.
And I hope so. I really genuinely hope so. I think when we get to what the playoffs looks like here in a sec, I'll talk about more. But I think it's just good for the sport. It's good for the sport to have an even playing field. It really is. I know, you want to see your teams win and this and that, and but I think at the end of the day, your teams are going to have a better chance. You're going to have a better chance because maybe you're not a fan of a blue blood or a big time program. Now you have the chance with the portal and the NIL to compete for the playoff. Everybody gets a shot now. Everybody really does. I mean, some things go wrong for a couple of the teams, and Army could have been in easily. I mean, a couple teams lose the past couple weeks, and they're right in there. But yeah, anyways, we get to the next one, the Big 12 championship. The team projected to place last in the Big 12 ends up winning it. Arizona State defeats Iowa State 45-19. I think if I'm rooting Boise State, number one. ASU's number two for me.
They're a darn good football team, man. Gritty running back Cam Scadaboo. I'd let him date my daughter.
100%.
100%. But in all seriousness, they've been playing great football. Truly been playing great football. Mm-hmm. Again, wouldn't shock me if they win a playoff game. They got a tough draw. Their side of the bracket is very difficult. But, yeah, I kind of expected this Big 12 championship game. Iowa State barely squeaked in. I was pretty surprised Iowa State beat K-State to get in. But, yeah, Arizona State, very good football team, physical, true freshman quarterback too, which was pretty surprising for me.
And you look at, Arizona State, I mean, they went, was it 10-2 or 11-1?
10-2.
10-2, and one of their losses, their quarterback was injured too.
Yeah, it's great that they have this opportunity because they're definitely playing the best football anyone in the Big 12 and probably playing better football than a lot of teams in the country. And the fact that they get to play for the championship is very, very awesome. I mean, this is a team that early on in the season, they almost lost to Texas State in a nail-biter, lost to Cincinnati, and now they're here dominating the Big 12 championship. It's a heck of a story.
Yeah, Kenny Dillingham, he seems like an incredible coach.
Yeah.
Former Florida State offensive coordinator. Mike Norvell disciple, actually. He was with Norvell in Tulsa and Memphis, Florida State, Good coaching tree, is Foreman, right? Anyways, we move on to the SEC. A rematch, Georgia, Texas, Clash of the Titans. Carson Beck, he might need Tommy Johns. We don't know. He might be done. But is their backup better? Because some instances he kind of looked like it.
Was that Stetson? Come on, let's be real. That was Stetson Bennett back on
It kind of was, dude. It looked like him. He was mobile. He did bring a spark to that Georgia team. They went in overtime, 22-19.
In overtime. Absolutely crushed.
Oh, yeah, he did. And I don't think that was...
It wasn't. They didn't call targeting.
Yeah, and I don't think it was. I'm glad they didn't. Yeah, that game, a lot of people said it was sloppy. I thought it was just, two really good defenses and two stacked teams and just kind of a stalemate. I do have questions, though, about Texas's offense. They can look good at times, but, I think it starts with Quinn Ewers. There's times where he looks like the next best thing, the best quarterback, since Peyton Manning. He can look like that, and then there's other times where it's like, I don't know if he can read a defense. I don't know if he can make elite throws. So I got some question marks about them, but I think overall those two teams are very good.
Yeah, I think Texas is a better team than Georgia. I really do, and I just think Georgia, sometimes teams have your number, and I think Kirby Smart is all over Steve Sarkisian in his number. I think the defense, called in both these games, Georgia versus Texas, has been fantastic, and I really do think that Texas and Oregon are the two best teams in the country. But if Texas has to play Georgia, that's not good news for them because Georgia just has their number. I agree with you in the Ewers thing, but to me, I think the bigger story was the Texas lack of running game. It was non-existent the whole game. I think Ewers was really, really good in the first half, kind of slowed down in the second half, and they just – without a running game, it's hard to score in the red zone, and that's kind of what happened. Texas would get down there, and they just didn't have the running attack to punch it in. So I do think Texas – I don't have questions about Texas – unless they're playing Georgia. I really just think Georgia has their number. It is fair to say that Texas did only score 17 against Texas A&M. Again, Texas is going to have to be able to punch in touchdowns. That was their same problem against Texas A&M. It's been their problem against any really, really good defense. If Texas continues these problems, I guess I do have questions about Texas. Can you score in the red zone?
Yeah, I really think Georgia's defense is really good. I think Texas A&M's defense is really good.
Yeah.
But I think now you're getting to the spot where you're going to see a good defense really – no matter who you play.
You'll see a good defense round one against Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
You will.
100%. Yeah. Very disciplined defense.
Yeah. No, that's true. And, I mean, Clemson, SMU. Or is that not the next game?
No, we got one more because I think, this one. Oregon, first time in the Big Ten, they defeat Penn State. It's kind of like that. You ever seen that meme? Or it's like a video that guy made where he gets drafted. He's just like a random guy and he gets drafted in the NFL. Yeah, me?
Yeah.
That was like Penn State last weekend when they found out they're going to the Big Ten championship. No surprise here. No surprise James Franklin couldn't beat a good team, couldn't beat a ranked team. But, I will have to give him some credit. I really did think they had the facilities to put up 37 on Oregon. That's the only takeaway I have from that game. I mean, Oregon they were the better team. They looked like it. They made plays. Their defense, though, I don't know how you give up that many points to Penn State. But you knew they were going to lose. No matter what happened in that game, you knew Penn State was losing because that's just James Franklin's MO. He's in that category. I will never believe in him until he does it. I won't believe in him, and I'll always pick against him.
Yeah, a lot of explosive plays in this game. It was a fun game to watch. I was pretty surprised both defenses. I really did not think – I mean, for me, I came to this game thinking, Oregon, they have the offense. I think they'll be able to saw them away at the end. I don't think Penn State will be able to hang with them scoring-wise. And that was true, but that was because Penn State couldn't get a stop. I expected a lot more out of this Penn State defense and this Oregon defense. Way too many explosive plays, I think both coaches would say, from both teams defensively. But I do think Oregon is the best team in the country just based on the regular season, but they're not unbeatable. They are not Georgia of a couple of years ago. They are not Alabama of 5 to 10 years ago. They are number one, and they should probably be your favorite, but they are not unbeatable. I mean, you've seen multiple times this season. I mean, you've seen them score 16 points on Wisconsin and almost lose that game. Mm-hmm. They should have lost to Boise. They are not unbeatable. So it's going to be parity galore.
Yeah, and then we get to the last game, the last game of this championship weekend, the ACC championship, the Toilet Bowl. Just kidding, but I'm a little disappointed. They had to close off some sections there in North Carolina. Like, Clemson fans, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's
right
pretty
there.
surprising.
It has to be. Is that ACC ball?
I'm thinking that has to be because they only had a week to get there.
Yeah, maybe they really weren't expecting to do that.
It was the same thing.
But I was surprised. Like there was a lot of Oregon fans having to go all the way to Indiana.
But they've been
knew
knowing
it,
they're
yeah.
going. But I saw they were $12 tickets at the Big Ten championship, which
Sure.
I was almost like, dude, I'll drive there for $12 tickets.
It would have been it would have been a fun game too.
Been.
But yeah, Clemson had the chance to do the funniest thing ever and really put the college football playoff committee to the test, and they did it. Honestly, from the start of the game, I was completely blown away. Clemson turning the ball over, going up 24-7. I'm like, what in the world is going on? Because I kind of wrote Clemson off. You know, they started to look good in the middle. They get blown out by Georgia. Then they start looking really good. They start blowing teams out. Then you drop a terrible one to Louisville. And then you get to South Carolina and you lose a close one. But you really go, are they even that good? Is it, it's just rivalry game. They lose. Their offense looked terrible. They couldn't do anything. But no, then they go and play SMU, one of the hottest teams in college football, and they start blowing them out. But SMU fights all their way back, ties up the game with about, 30 seconds left, 31-31.
Yeah.
And Clemson gets a huge kick return, gets a couple plays, and kicks a 56-yard field goal to win the game. Clemson becomes the ACC champs. That's an auto bid for them. They get in the playoffs, and the committee had a tough decision because they just wanted SMU to win. It made everything so much easier. You didn't really have to do anything. And now Clemson wins. Now the playoff spot is up for grabs, which we'll say in a minute. But, yeah, what a crazy game.
You know what I saw?
What?
Meme I saw was it was the scene of Incredibles where Dash is running track, and his parents are telling him to not, because he's running track, he's the fastest guy. So they were telling him to get second place but not win. So he was barely jogging, and they were like, "Don't make it look bad. You got to jog." But then he went into first, and they were like, "No, don't win." And then he went back into second place, and they were cheering because he got in 2nd place, and it was that's the ACC cheering for SMU because they made it close.
And that's exactly what they had to do.
What happened.
It was literally
perfect.
Like word for word what the committee said. If they lose on a last-second field goal, it's going to be tough for us. And they did exactly that. Maybe they did it on purpose. Yeah, I mean, going to that with that whole conundrum, I mean,
it's 3 losses, man. You can't put Bama in. I'm sorry. You can't put Bama in.
And
I am the biggest. Okay, I have a couple things. Because you guys know me. Will is an FSU fan. You got the ACC roots. I'm a Florida fan. I got the SEC roots. So, for me, I'm a huge SEC homer. I love the SEC. I think that's the best football play in America. However, the argument that, Paul, well, if Alabama played SMU right now, Alabama would beat them by 2 touchdowns. It's not true. It's not true. And SMU is a good football team, and Alabama has lost to Oklahoma and Vanderbilt. That you can't tell me that this is your same old Alabama team that deserves to get in because they're able to blow out all the bad teams, and they just lost to a really good SEC team. They lost to 6-6 teams, 2 of them. So I think you can't punish a team that played in their conference championship game. You can't, because you're looking at 11-1 and 9-3. You punish a team for playing their conference championship game, there's going to be teams that just turn it down and say, no, I don't want to do it.
And not to mention that the one team he had in there wasn't even playing in their conference championship.
Yeah.
They're sitting at home. And to put some context into this, the playoff committee on Sunday, right before NFL started, so maybe you're at the store grilling it up, getting home from church, whatever, and you missed it. I'll tell you right now, the first 4 teams who all get a bye week to start the playoff: number 1, Oregon; number 2, Georgia; number 3, Boise State. You'll love to see that. And number 4, Arizona State. Those guys are your 4 byes. Then number 5, Texas; number 6, Penn State; number 7, Notre Dame; number 8, Ohio State; number 9, Tennessee. Clemson, I guess the 5th worst conference champion, got that auto spot at 12. And then the big discussion was, who is it going to be? Because before this selection, Alabama was at that number 11 seed. They were in it. And the commissioner of the CFP, Ward Emanuel, says, well, they're not playing. We really can't evaluate them anymore. So that led to a bunch of discussion and a bunch of arguments over Twitter, social media. I mean, national media, everybody's talking about it, hypotheticals and this and that. Because what do you do if you're SMU? You're going to play this game like Colby said. You earn the right to be in your conference championship. You went 11-1 that season. You play in this game and you lose it, you could get jumped by a 9-3 Alabama team or a 9-3 team anywhere. A team that wasn't playing in the conference championship could have jumped you. And that brought up a lot of heated debates. I was a part of it on Twitter. But I think, the best thing about this is, you want to see this. Like we talked about, parity, NIL, transfer portal. The playing field has gotten a lot closer. Teams, there's no longer super teams, I'd say. There's really good teams. We talked about Texas, Georgia, Oregon. These teams could win it all, even Boise State. But I think we've gone away from teams that can fill up their rosters, load them up. You have 5 running backs on a team, and they're all going to be in the NFL. Like, look at Alabama, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, all these guys.
For sure.
You don't have that anymore. Now
It's
you
awesome.
have even teams. You have guys who will go play for a team like Arizona State because they can get a bag, they can get some money, and then they can also play right away. And so I think when you put SMU in over Alabama, who's a big brand, big history, national championships, been in the playoffs, I think, every year since 2010, something crazy. They've been in the playoffs, at least most of those years. I think this has saved college football. It saved it because now no longer are you going to have to look at brands and hypotheticals. The committee rewarded a team. They went 11-1. They played in their conference championship. They didn't go from brands and hypotheticals. They went to winning and playing for your championship and made those things actually matter. So I think, maybe if you're an Alabama fan and you're mad, get over it first off. Look at the past 10 years. You have nothing to complain about. But I think at the end of the day, this has saved college football. It's saved it.
I agree. I think it set a great precedent. I really do. And like I said, I'm the SEC homer, and I think SMU deserved it. I think, and again, if you could show me that one team, again, if Alabama was 10-2, this would be a whole different discussion. But they weren't. They had 3 losses, and you just can't make a case for a 3-loss team to jump a 1-loss team in the regular season. You just can't. It's not. So I agree. I think that. I think we'll save our predictions for next episode. Yeah. I do think.
I want to get into it now, but we got to save it.
I do think you look.
Huge episode.
You look at Tennessee, Ohio State, man. That is what you do the 12-team.
You dream about this kind of stuff.
You dream about that. Oh my god.
Battle of Indiana.
Oh, that's good. Me.
A whiteout playoff game.
Yeah, I'm excited. I am very excited. And I think SMU will get a little frisky with them. I think SMU's got.
It's going to be fun. I think all of the games. And that's what you hope for.
Yep.
I think all the games are they should be pretty close and pretty fun. I think one more thing, too, about, Alabama is a lot of the argument saying, we'll never schedule a tough non-conference schedule again. That doesn't make sense at all. And I'm literally seeing, Barstool, On3. Barstool is more like a funny thing, but, On3, I use that for all my recruiting analysis. As far as, who USF is getting, who Florida State's getting, Florida. I trust those guys a lot. And I even, that's where, the beat writers are. Those are the same guys, of course, who lied to me. I looked at it today, and, all of them said, I think the worst prediction I saw, all, the FSU beat writers was 9-3 this season. It was, the worst one. But anyways, I trust those guys, and you're bringing up some nonsense argument, and it doesn't make sense. Look. USF was a tough game for Alabama, but historically and what the national media sees USF as, we follow them. We know what this team is capable of. We think this year is a disappointment because we think USF should have been better, okay? And we think USF is on the rise, and they can get better under Alex Golish. But from the national media's perspective, are you telling me that your non-conference games as Alabama is tough with USF, Mercer, Western Kentucky, and then Wisconsin, which, they played Oregon close, but they've also gotten blown out in another 100 games. Are you kidding me? What does that have to do with anything? You didn't lose any of those games. You didn't play any non-conference playoff teams or just even decent teams with the pulse. You played nobodies. And then when you get to your conference, you don't want to talk about the fact that you lost to Oklahoma, who's terrible. You lost to Vanderbilt. Yeah, they've had a fun season, but at the end of the day, that's still Vanderbilt. And they still went 500. So I don't get that argument. And I just don't understand. I said it earlier in the show. Why are there so many people who just keep repeating this? Why?
It's uneducated. It's uneducated. People just don't understand it. I think again, people just repeat things they see, and it comes back down to the reporters and the beat writers. You can't publish that when it's just so stupid. So yeah, listen to TB3. We will not publish stupid things. We will have our own takes that are educated and researched upon.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And we're honest. We're not gonna lie to you here. We're the voice of the fans. We're the voice of the people, and we want to keep this thing growing. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to follow us on Instagram. Colby's running it mostly, basically all of it. He's doing a heck of a job growing it exponentially to levels I can't even imagine. So continue to give that love, and thank you for the guys who are doing it and a lot of our partners. Shout out to USF Bulls family, the Rays family, and our new Bucs family. We're starting to grow in there. But yeah, continue to follow us because, again, we're going to give you honest takes. We're not just going to say what the media says to you and gurgle it up and basically say the same thing. We watch the games with our own eyes. We watch all the games. We don't sit there and just, look at the highlights and look up what, so Stephen A. Smith said about the Buccaneers and repeat it to you. Or Colin Cowherd. I've started to agree with him a lot more, believe it or not. But I don't just repeat what he says because I'm seeing it with my own eyes and I'm telling it to you how I see it. Colby's doing the same thing. Joel, he's fired from the show, unfortunately. All kidding. He's with family right now. He'll be back.
He's in New York. He's scouting No, we don't play any New York teams.
He was trying to sign Juan Soto.
He was trying to bring Juan Soto to Tampa.
He was trying to bring Juan Soto to Tampa.
Yes,
it fell through.
Yeah. Now he's just enjoying his time over there.
Yeah, he was trying to get Max Fried too, but didn't work out either.
He's trying to get Aaron Judge back to Tampa Bay. He's a Bucs fan.
Yeah. I think he has a meeting with Pete Alonso, maybe.
Oh, yes. He's trying to bring Pete Alonso back to Tampa Bay. So, yeah, Joel's hard at work over in New York. But, yeah.
He's doing the Lord's work out there.
We're also on Twitter, so follow us on Twitter. We post on that. We're trying to work on that. And that's just like pure takes and opinions. So, you can get our unraw thoughts on Twitter.
It's like my burner account.
Yeah.
And all my bot followers went away. We need – go boost it, please. I'm serious. Go give it a follow. We need it back up.
Yeah, dang straight. All right, yeah, so comment down below your prediction, Bucs Chargers. Who do you think is going to win, why, and what's the score? And like Will said, subscribe and all that good stuff. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your time.